Hi there, this is Isaac from Master GMAT, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Over the last few videos, you saw me attacking a few sentence correction questions. Today, we're actually going to look at a critical reasoning question. So this isn't going to be of the most difficult level, so we're going to start with a more medium level one, and probably do a few more advanced level questions in the near future. So what are we looking at over here? Well, the first step in a critical reasoning question is to obviously read what you need, but first things first, first step, what kind of question are we looking at? This is very important because you need to already determine what it is you need to avoid, what it is you need to attack. So over here, you see the word assumption. Already we know that this is an assumption question. What does that tell us? Well, already we know the traps that may be laid for us. With assumption questions, we have to be very careful of new data, meaning new premises. What we're looking for, in effect, is what connects the premises already given with the conclusion, meaning what did the author actually assume in order for the conclusion to be right. If they give you new data, that's usually a mistake. The other thing is, don't worry if the answer choice is not necessarily logical. We don't care about that. We care only whether it follows the author's logic. What did the author assume in order for his or her conclusion to be true? So, if you want to give this a go on your own, please go ahead and do so. I gave you already a couple of hints, and when you're ready to listen to the explanations, unpause the recording. So if you want to try it, pause the recording now. Alright, so we're back. So now, what do we need to do? Well, we obviously have to break things down over here a little bit. And to solve the assumption question, break the argument down. Sentences 1, 2, and 3 are factual, basically. So that means that they are the premises. All this is data. Okay, and based on these premises, the author actually comes up with a conclusion. It could be said therefore, and the therefore obviously tells you it's a good strong hint that you have a conclusion. So we know that therefore the folding feature is not an important feature to the bicycle buyers. Alright, what does that mean? Now, what we're looking for in essence is we have to ask ourselves, the author believes that a bicycle's folding feature is not important to someone buying a bicycle, based on the facts that X10, a foldable bicycle, did not sell as well as X9, its predecessor. But what did the author overlook here? What did the author assume? So, in essence, we're looking at what assumption the author makes that ignores any kind of alternate explanations. So, let's go one by one over here. Okay? In A, what do we have? Besides the following feature, the other differences between the two models were not substantial enough to affect sales. Well, what's the author doing over here? Well, basically, the author in this one is basically saying what? That in order to compare between the X9 and X10, and in that way draw the conclusion, the author had to assume what? That the folding feature was the only difference that could have affected the sales of both models. Therefore, in effect, by concentrating on that folding feature and taking it out of the equation, well, we have something that might be true over here. Had the author not assumed this, then we wouldn't have had the conclusion that the folding feature is not an important feature to bicycle buyers. Let's go to B. Marketing is an important part of the success of any product and can greatly affect sales. Well, if the author assumed marketing was important, he or she wouldn't have come to a conclusion that ignores marketing and puts all the blame for the X10 sales on the folding feature. So marketing kind of throws it off a little bit over here. By the way, just a little thing, if you're kind of confused, after you get the answer or even before you get the answer, you can always submit a commentary and we get back to you quite quickly. Look at what you can do as well. You can go over the key features of the lesson you will have learned with assumption questions, right? And this would have told you how to attack assumption questions. This is only a summary of the lesson. The lesson is actually quite interactive and fun to do. So, back to this. Marketing obviously has nothing to do with anything over here. Now, take a look at C. What happens in C? In C, basically, it says the folding feature is only important to bicycle owners that live in urban areas where storage space is problematic. Well, when we're given a new premise, and this is a new premise, why is it a new premise? Because this is just factual. It's not an assumption, it's just fact. When we're given a new premise, this is a trap. Okay, and this is not accepted as an assumption in assumption questions, obviously. So we could get rid of this just based on the fact that it's presenting factual information. Okay, we don't care about any extra factual information. We care about how the author assumes what he or she assumes in order to get to the conclusion. In D, the timing of the release of a new product onto the market is of utmost importance. Well, what does that mean? Well, basically, if the author assumed that timing was important, this is kind of like marketing. He or she wouldn't have come to the conclusion that ignores the release timings and put all the blame on the X10 sales on the folding feature. We need something that concentrates on the folding feature, not on something else over here. Okay, so timing has nothing to do with anything. And look at what happens in E. The X9 was a very popular bicycle. Is this an assumption? Or is this a fact? It seems more like a fact, doesn't it? Well, if it's a fact, then it's a new premise. If it's a new premise, it's a trap. And if it's a trap, we can cancel. Okay, we do not want new factual information over here. We want to know why or how the author assumed what he or she assumed. And basically, if we go to A, we see, again, besides the folding feature, the other differences between the two models were not substantial enough to affect sales. Again, took the two models, the other differences away from this and just concentrated on the folding feature. So indeed, the author concentrates on the folding feature and says, hey, this is what's wrong with it. So basically, let's take a look. Okay, and indeed, okay, we had to break it down properly, right? And we know in effect that in order to compare between the X9 and X10 and that way draw the conclusion, the author had to assume that the folding feature was the only difference that could have affected the sale of both models. If something else affected the sale of both models, then that wouldn't have been a proper assumption. Here, the author had to assume that it was only that. Okay, so hope that was clear. It's a bit tricky. You can always get back to us, by the way, with questions, right? We'd be more than happy to answer. Okay, so until next time, we will certainly try another assumption question, either medium or advanced. And until then, good luck. See you soon.